to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcasts, everybody. Today's July 24th, 2022. We're in Season 3, episode number 36. Andy and I are here with the Sports Edition. How you doing, Andy?
Doing good. Big weekend for baseball.
Big weekend in sports. Lots going on. We'll cover it on the show here, but once again, we can't hardly keep up with all this. Lots going on. Baseball. We're going to talk a little bit about the World Games, XFL.
I got one non-baseball note I want to start out with.
Yes.
Up in Fargo this last weekend, they had the Minnesota Storm high school wrestling tournaments, nationals up there, Greco-Roman stuff.
Yes.
Right. Bryce Burkett of Watertown, 170 pounds, first place national tournament.
No, I saw that, and I saw him. We saw him perform live. At sectionals or something. That guy's a stud. If Bryce Burkett, Watertown mayor, and he's going to be a junior, or is he going to be? He's going to be a senior.
He's going to be a senior, I believe. Yep. And he was 170 pound. Minnesota took 10th out of like 35, 40 states that were there. Bryce was first. We had some other Minnesota kids that did well. So congratulations to the Minnesota Storm wrestling team.
Yeah, I saw that. That's very good. Congrats to those guys. He's a guy to watch.
Name to watch next year. Earmark this episode. Put it on your favorites. And then next year at state tournament time. Hey, who's this Bryce kid? Yeah, we told you.
We watch told you. For him. Yeah, he's a good one to watch. There's a lot of young talent coming up. Mac McAnally. Okonia is also going to be a senior. Yeah. And fun guys to watch. Once that winter season starts, we'll be all over it here at Sports and Songs. We want to start.
I got some all-star game notes here.
Yes, let's start there. Major League Baseball.
First of all, they said it was like one of the lowest rated ever. I don't blame them. I didn't watch the game.
Yes.
I saw one play. It was like NBA and NHL all-star games where guy hits the ball. Yeah, the second baseman made a nice flip to shortstop, but the guy from first wasn't running it down. They did a fancy little spring training play and threw him out at first by like 10 steps. That's why I don't bother watching the game. No one's trying. If it's not a home run, they didn't care.
Yeah.
Everybody in Minnesota cried. Oh, Brian Buxton hit a home run. That was a game winner. Why did he get MVP? Well, because it was a solo home run. Judges was a 2-run homer to put him ahead. Yeah. His was a 2-run homer, and he crushed that ball. Now, there's a lot of other things. Just because you get the game-winning RBI doesn't mean you're the game MVP in an all-star game.
Now, would it have been different if it was the
I played in the all-star game, and then this is one thing I don't like about Buxton. He plays in the all-star game. The Twins didn't play again until Saturday, so they had almost 5 days off. He missed that first game back to have injections in his knee. I got an idea. Don't go to the all-star game. Have that done on Monday right away, your first day off. So hard to respect players and they pull stuff like that. I get it with the pitchers. They don't want to pitch because it's not their, because it throws off their rotation. Like Jason Verlander didn't pitch and a few other guys didn't pitch. I get that.
Yeah.
But
so Buxton got the invite for the home run derby, declined that, and accepted the spot just to play as the backup center fielder for Trout. Yep. Trout gets hurt. Buxton now is a starter in the lineup, batting 5th or 6th, playing center field. So he had 2 at-bats, went 1 for 2, and he didn't look that comfortable at the plate, except that he hit for a homer. He crushed it, and of course ends up looking good. But you're right, a lot of people did think he should have been the MVP. I don't think.
One other note from the All-Star game. The National League manager wanted to use Edwin Diaz of the Mets, the reliever, as the closer to save the game. Diaz instead lobbied for the Pirates closer, David Benham, to close. Diaz said, quote, "I've done this before. Let the guys who haven't been here play." That's what I respect right there for the players.
Wow.
He's not saying this guy may never make it again. He's not saying, hey, he's a flash in the pan, let him have his one time. You never know. But it's your one time. You don't know if you're never coming back. Who cares how good a season you're having? Let him play. Diaz, I've done this before. Let him play. So respect to that right there. I don't care. Now, I'm not saying next he's a Mets player.
Yeah.
I'm saying next he said it.
So he said it in the right. He said it in the right way, in the right tone. not condescending, belittling, but
I had my moment. Let the kid have it. He didn't say it that way. I've been here. He hasn't. And like I said, there's no guarantees you ever coming back in anything. So that's that. The only thing I got to say about that Major League Baseball draft that finished up, we were talking last time, the Mets nationally were given the number 1 rated draft. And like we talked about during the draft last time, there's teams that are drafting now to fill in holes for players they want to trade. Fernando Alvarez, the Mets catcher, their high-ranked catcher, they just moved up AAA. They're trying to shuffle him off in a package deal for Juan Soto from the Nationals. Hence, the Mets drafted more catching. So look at your other teams to see who these other teams are wanting to trade. Well, why are you getting rid of your studs? Well, because you're getting a proven stud now, and you just replenished in the draft.
Yeah.
So that's how that's going to go. There was one factoid in the draft. For the 35th straight year, a Minnesota Golden Gopher was drafted.
Okay.
1988 through now, we've always had a Gopher player drafted in Major League Baseball. That's first in the Big Ten. The next in the Big Ten is Ohio State. Now, I said the Gophers have had it for 35 straight years. The next is Ohio State with 11 straight years.
So it drops off.
Yeah, and you figure Michigan's always had decent players. Ohio State gets decent players, this and that. Someone's got to be in the 20s from the Big Ten for crying out loud. But the Gophers, 35 straight years.
And it's like I said, that's
consecutive. Yep, 35 consecutive years. Not 35 years, 35 consecutive. So hats off to Coach Anderson and the group down there.
That's a pretty big statement right there. Wow.
Major League Baseball standings right now, as we sit here speaking, which will be different when you all watch this. Bottom of the second, the Mets are on the way to lose their 4th straight, 3-0 to San Diego. Mets, if they lose today, they'll still be a half game up behind Atlanta, who's just been hotter than hot, hence the name Hot Atlanta. If the Mets did fall in second place, they'd be the top wildcard team, replacing Atlanta, of course. And Atlanta's got a 7-game lead on that. So just because the Mets dropped to second doesn't mean they're out of the playoffs. They'd just be in the crapper, sitting in a wild card seat, not division leader. So it's not over yet. As of this morning, both the Twins and the Mets had a magic number of 67. With Atlanta losing, that drops it to 66. Twins won, and I think Cleveland, I don't know how Cleveland did, but the Twins won, so there's going to drop also. It is magic number time to start watching that. You can get that like CBS Sports, I think, or MLB. They'll show you, just put in your favorite team, Major League Baseball players or teams, magic number, and they'll send you those sites.
So the
trade
deadline is coming.
Mets just had a 3-run homer, 3-1 Mets.
Oh, who hit it?
Sorry, it was. Do my box score here.
I'm asking because I got a couple guys on my fantasy roster.
It's all about the fantasy, yes. The polar bear, Pete Alonso.
Of course. So speaking of standings, now the Twins won 2 straight now coming out of the break. I know it's against Detroit, but they needed to win, and they did. They're sitting good. Guess who they play now next? The Milwaukee Brewers, the top team in the NL Central. Brewers up by 2.5. Will play the top team in the AL Central. Brewers and Twins. Just a 2-game series in Milwaukee.
Yep.
So baseball fans, whether you're National League or American League, tune into that. That should be some good baseball there. Pretty even keeled.
And that's Tuesday and Wednesday they play?
That's Tuesday and Wednesday. Monday, a day off for the Twins. It's a Tuesday. It's just a 2-game set, but that's a good one to gauge for the fans how good these teams are here.
Because it's a rivalry week, because the Mets play Tuesday, Wednesday at home against the Yankees.
So those are 2 good series.
Yeah. And then the Mets
kind of playoff. They should have a playoff feel to those, I think.
Yes. Monday off, Thursday off, then the Mets go to Miami for 3 games. But here's the scary part from the Mets schedule. They got Miami the end of the month. They start off August 3 at Washington, then 5 with Atlanta because of a makeup game. 5 games in 4 days. But it's at at Citi Field. Ooh, that was
okay. Oops.
Whoops. 5 at Citi Field in 4 days with the Braves, Saturday being a doubleheader. Then Cincinnati, who, again, one of those teams, they're not doing great in the playoffs or in the standings, but you don't take anything for granted. And then the Phillies. So they got 5, 8, 11 games in 11 days at home before they go back on the road to Atlanta for 4. So big couple weeks for the boys at Citi Field from Flushing.
Late July, always fun baseball.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with it at all.
August is always, of course, good. September playoff push, but it's going to be some good stuff. Now the Twins are in a situation, roster-wise, with Miquel Sano. They have to decide before Tuesday's game.
Cut
him, trade him, bring him up. They have exhausted. I've talked to someone over the weekend saying, well, let's just keep him down in the minors, let him do his rehab. Well, you have a certain number of days that you have to use. He's at the end, his last day for rehab. He's got to come up, get traded or cut. Something's got to happen. So the Twins,
or he's part of that team for the year. Yeah,
they're in this peculiar situation. Do they bring him up where there's really no room for him? Do you cut him? You could. Do you trade him? His value is probably the lowest it is right now. So you're not going to get much in return.
Right.
Now, if you send down a guy like Gilberto Celestino in center field, backup guy for Buxton, you could. But it's a lot of jockeying, and the Twins have invested a lot in Sano over the years. He might just be outright cut. Very interesting. What's your thoughts? Cut?
Yeah. Well, outfield is a tough position. And I'm not taking away from any position, but almost anybody can play first base of all the positions. You can't just throw anybody in any outfield position. Buxton is not playing 7 days a week. He's playing 4 to 5 days a week out of 7. So you got to have a backup who's familiar with the rest of the team, who everybody's worked with and done lineup changes, this, that, there thing. Sano, can you maybe, now again, not belittling any teams, maybe when you try to get another arm from somebody else from Arizona or the Marlins or something like that, you could throw them in there because big horse on the little team like that, they might need a little pop. That might be something to spark them.
As far as an add-on on a trade, not the centerpiece of the trade.
Right. He's like the third guy.
Okay, gotcha. I can see that.
There's a pennant contender from the National League. Not they do this, for example, the Dodgers. Or, whoever. They say, hey, wait, we'll give you these handful of C-class players for your C-class. Have one of them be Sano, and now they got an everyday DH for the playoff run.
Yeah.
Instead of these National League teams have been putting DH of the day in there all the time, well, let's get a guy who could be our DH every day. The Twins did it with Jim Dwyer in '87. Dwyer was not a stud by any means, but he was a decent, solid, everyday DH. So
he could be.
You might go to someone like that, to a contender, to be their everyday DH, just so they have one.
Yeah.
And I say the Dodgers because they got Freddie Freeman at first. You don't need a first baseman.
Unless the Twins brought him up and got rid of sent a pitcher down. But it's hard to send a player down because he's only really going to play DH. The Twins have got 2 first basemen essentially, and can always use, find a third. So I don't think it's going to play the field. But if you get a DH, you got to send someone down, and who is that? And so that's going to be a tough call.
Yeah.
So that's the thing to follow here Monday. Probably tomorrow in the news. Follow that story because that could be interesting. I don't know what to do. Now, I'm hearing a lot also of the Twins thinking that they might trade. Twins fans are thinking that Twins will trade Correa by the trade deadline.
That's insane.
I also don't see that happening either. So I don't know why those
not the wild card run. Yeah, but we're in a division lead. Why would you get rid of him?
Well, that's if you read the Star Tribune the last couple of days, their whole focus was, do you trade Correa or not? And I'm sitting back thinking, where are these thoughts coming from? Why would you trade Correa at all? He's in a 3-year deal. He can opt out after years 1 or 2, but he has to opt out. He has to be the one to initiate. And so once again, I don't understand that. There was some hubbub this last week that it was confirmed that Twins management have not reached out to Correa or his agent about staying on for years 1 or 2, or years 2 and 3. Well, there's nothing in the contract that says they have to reach out to them or him at all until after the season's done.
Right.
They don't have to. Correa has to be the one or his agent to reach out to the Twins to say, I'd like to opt out. Twins would have to talk to him for the next 3 years.
Right.
So
he's here.
Saying they're concerned that Twins management have not talked to Correa or his agent about this contract. Well, for those who don't know, the contract does not stipulate that the Twins have to talk to Correa at all. He's our guy for 3 years. He can opt out, but that's only at the end of the season. And he certainly shouldn't be in any trade talks.
And we're playoff contenders right now. We're in the playoffs right now. I'm sure he's got bonuses in his contract if we make the playoffs or win the division. We're caught for here. And I'm not saying this because he's a Twins player because I like the Twins. You're in the playoffs. You all have the same shot at a ring. So if you get here, we can get in the second round. It's like, hey, this team's missing just one piece. I'm sticking around for it. Or do you want to be that piece going somewhere else? Because ask Javi Baez how that worked out for him. Yeah.
But the reason for Correa and some of these other veterans is to have the veteran presence on the team.
Yep.
Sonny, you have the veterans for the end of the year, for the playoff, certainly for the playoff push and to be in the playoffs. So I think it's just to sell papers. I think it's to stir up some controversy. I don't know where this is coming from, but a lot of folks are talking about Correa being traded at the deadline. So I think it's a misnomer. But anyway, that's all I've got for
the beginning, though. Let's rewind a little bit, Dan. You said you read that where? I'll stop right there. Watch the language.
It's gotten so bad. It's hard to pick up a newspaper.
Right. And not saying the internet's any better, but that's why I kind of set the MLB and the team sites when it comes to gossip.
You have to do that.
Like that. You read your local rags, even the New York Times or Los Angeles Times or Chicago Trib. They all want to try to poke the bear at the big stud.
Poking the bears. If you're reading it because you're interested in who's poking the bear, I can see that for a little debate, water cooler talk at the office, but it's kind of an eye roller to some extent. Now, I've got an update on the World Games, Andy.
Yes.
The World Games are wrapped up last week, a week from today on Sunday in Birmingham, Alabama. A lot of people don't know much, and rightly so. I don't follow this. I don't think I would ever follow this again, but because it was in Birmingham, we covered it. 110 nations are represented at the World Games. It's like a sub-Olympics, and 73 got medals. Italy came away with the most medals in the medal count. Hats off to Italy. Congrats. Germany ended up with the most golds, and the U.S. was in the top 4 in both of those categories. 73 nations got medals. 110.
Yeah, I could sit here with pen and paper. I bet you I couldn't even think of 73 nations.
And so 73 got medals in all of these categories, all these sports. But it's over. It comes up again. It was in Birmingham, Alabama, bringing everyone once again the world stage on sports over there to Alabama. But that's all I got for the World Games.
Do you have any town ball updates? I know they wrapped up this weekend.
Well, I was going to touch on Pro next. XFL.
Okay.
Now you may have some insight on this, but they had the XFL town. They had their town hall coverage today. I don't know if you watched it, but
I got my notes right here. Yep.
The XFL announced, this is not the USFL now. XFL had that year off. They, kind of disbanded and got back together. They announced
Dwayne Johnson and Vince McMahon's thing.
It's new ownership, new management. They've announced the 8 cities for 2023. Now, this is once again starting in April. It's a spring football league pros, but here's where they're going to be playing and the venues. Any thoughts on this, Andy?
Okay, I do have a few because here's my thing. USFL, XFL, great. I got no problem with it. I got a problem when you're already in a major league city or pro city because You want to expand this game of football, go to other towns. You have Arlington on there, you have Orlando, and you have San Antonio. That's great.
So you like those. Okay, those three are good.
Okay, Houston's already got a team. Why couldn't you have that team play in Oklahoma City?
Got it.
Who else got a list there? Vegas, they got a team. How about Salt Lake City? Let's expand here. Who else on the list there? Seattle, Portland. Easy enough there. I'm going to skip one down because that's my big shock. But okay, DC has a team. How about go like Little Rock, Arkansas or something like that? Or Birmingham, Alabama, something down there.
Yeah.
Instead of St. Louis, you want to talk about a place that loves football? How about Iowa City?
Oh, yes.
There. Teams, places that don't have pro teams, you can expand your football world. I mean, some of these teams have pro teams. We'll go to the pro game later. I ain't going to watch this. You want a semi-pro or pro, whatever you want to consider this, in your town in Iowa or Oklahoma City. Not that you're going to be turning away people at the gate, but you'll get a good draw every week.
So in other words, NFL should be used, of course, for the top tier teams.
Right.
This should be USFL and XFL. Both should be really meant for second tier cities.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
The Minnesota Twins play in Minneapolis. St. Paul Saints play in St. Paul. There's no Minneapolis minor league team. The city of New York doesn't have a minor league team. Los Angeles doesn't have a minor league team. It's in your suburbs. Seattle has a team. Tacoma's the AAA. So it could be your sub-city, your twin cities, if you will, whatever. Don't have to be in the same city.
Now, one thing I noticed, Las Vegas, their stadium's to be announced. So I'm assuming they're working a deal with the new NFL stadium there. They want to play there, but because it's to be announced, I'm sure they're stuck in contract talks.
Okay, Seattle Lumen Field, is that still where the Seahawks play? They renamed the stadium, or is that like a soccer stadium?
Well, they're
Lumen,
the football field is their soccer stadium, so I'm guessing it's renamed.
Yeah, I can't keep up with who it names them.
Yeah, Washington D.C. too is.
Yeah.
That's
in the Alamo Dome in Seattle, or I'm sorry, San Antonio, the Alamo Dome. That's where that American League of Football or American Football League that tried for a few weeks.
Okay.
Those 4 teams all played in the Alamo Dome. The guy that owns the Alamo Dome used to try to get the Vikings a few years ago. He was going to move them down there. So that stadium was built for football. It's a beautiful stadium. It's just, it gets stuff like this. It gets a college bowl game. So, yeah, maybe an old stadium, but it don't get a lot of use. So it's still got some years in it. I wouldn't mind. But Houston and Dallas already have pro teams already. Now you put San Antonio and Houston for this. I get it. Football's a religion in Texas. I understand that. But get it out of Houston. Put it somewhere else. Put it in OKC or put it, Now,
Arlington is in that Fort Worth, Dallas area anyway. So
right.
they've already got the Cowboys. So one could argue that.
But I left that on there because I wasn't going to,
But it's a good point.
Too many Dallas needs a football team jokes were in there, so I let that go.
Exactly. So that's all I've got for football and pro. Now, town ball.
Yes.
We've wrapped up, I think, as of today, most town ball teams around the state are done with the regular season.
Yep.
And so what I've got here, we're gonna focus on Crow River today.
Okay.
The Crow River League wrapped up. Their season final seeds are right here on the screen if you can see it. The top 12 seeds. Now you don't see Norwood, they're not eligible yet. Young America moved up to Class B, so they're out. And Mayer had that run in with the roster.
Yes.
So there's only 12 teams playing, and the first 4 have buys. Watertown, we've interviewed the guys from Watertown Red Devils, secured a number 1 seed. Plato number 2, Waconia number 3. Waconia today beat Watertown 8-2.
Yeah, we're not talking about that
now.
But Watertown yesterday, Saturday,
just so the folks know, the seedings were locked in. None of these were going to change. So I don't know what they did, but the result of that game did not matter for the standings. They weren't going to move up.
Saturday, Watertown beat St. Bonnie 13-1, which gave us a 2-game lead over Waconia going into this game.
That was really the important game.
Yeah.
Today's, I think they used some subs and whatnot. Carver got locked into the 4th seed for the bye. So we got seeds 5 through 12 are remaining to play. And here's how they're going to do that. This week now,
Oh,
that's not it. Here we go.
There it is.
First 4 teams get buys. So the entire week, those first 4 teams have off. Now, starting Tuesday, it's a best of 3 for the seeds 5 through 12. So we get to see here 3 games: New Germany at Brownton, best of 3. St. Bonnie at Glencoe, and then Cologne at Hamburg. And then there's Wednesday. Green Isle plays at Winstead. Winstead's the home, gets a home game here.
Yeah.
They're the 12 seed. They actually get the first home game as a loser seed that they go and play then on the road. And then Thursday, we flip things around. Brownton plays at New Germany. They don't have lights. They're going to move that game to Plato. Glencoe plays at St. Bonnie. No lights in St. Bonnie. They're going to play that at the Watertown.
Here in town.
Thursday night, it's supposed to be, there's a misprint there. It's number 8 Hamburg at Cologne. And then the teams that go 2-0, they're going to win in advance. If you go 0-2, you lose. It's elimination games. Friday is Winstead at Green Isle. Then Sunday is set aside for any game 3, if there is. That should be good.
If necessary, yes.
That's if necessary. There might be no games. There could be a handful of games. Typically, there's a game or 2. Typically, there's a game or 2. Then it moves to Winstead. The following weekend is all the games hosted in Winstead. Now, it's interesting. Winstead is the number 12 seed, really essentially the worst team remaining in the playoffs. They're hosting the entire tournament, but Winstead does a good job with that. They've made some upgrades to that field. We'll be out there, I think, the following week for a game or 2 covering that, but these are just best of 3 series to kick things off. And it's an elimination series. You lose the best of 3, you're out. But it gets to be fun time of the year. Do you have anything for the Hall of Fame, Major League Baseball?
First of all, when you're in Winstead watching the game, stop by the Blue Note, get something to eat and drink there. Do not go to Casey's. I won't get into that.
Nice.
Sorry.
Or the corner bar.
Yeah, go to the corner bar. Hall of Fame. A couple Twins players went in. Jim Cott went in. Tonio went in. You see all, 2 Twins players went in. So Joe Schmidt and all the local media types are all tripping over themselves. Oh, we got 2 players going in. Yay. Kenny did play with other teams, and he went in with the Twins hat. That's cool. And it shows a picture of all the Twins players in the Hall of Fame up there. I got a little problem with them showing Jim Thome up there. He played here for like 2.5 years.
Jim Thome. Okay, so he was in the photo.
Yeah, he was in the photo. No, I got a problem with that. No. Blyleven, I think he went in as a Twin, but still, okay, he went as a Twin. We'll give you that. Molitor, he's really a Brewer, not a Twin. Dave Winfield, I think more Yankees and Padres than Twins. Yes, both Molitor and Winfield got hit 3,000 here, but you know what? When you're in those 2 careers, the Twins' name does not come up.
No.
So I got a problem with them all. Oh, look at all of our Minnesota Twins players in there. No. Minnesota Twins players in there are guys like Kirby, who was here his whole career. Harmon, all except the last few years. Tony O, his whole career here. Guys like that in there. Hats off to Minnie Minoso, who went in, who I believe played for the St. Paul Saints early in his career.
I think so.
And also, he had a great career. Finally, he gets in. Finally, Gil Hodges goes in. Now, everyone's going to come back to me going, hey, wait. Gil Hodges had a cup of coffee with the Mets, and they went tripping over themselves when he went in the Hall of Fame. They retired his number. They're making a big deal about him being a Met player in there. I think they're making the bigger deal about him being there. He was a manager for 4 years for the Mets. He's managed the 69 team to the World Championship. If you want to do your homework about Gil Hodges, the year before with the Mets in 68, they were below 500. The 4 years before that, he was managing the Washington Senators, soon to be Minnesota Twins team, to 100 lost seasons, 4 seasons below 500. So 5 straight years below 500, next year wins World Championship. So that kind of makes the team happy. You kind of love a guy like that, okay? Yeah, they retired his number. Should they have? That's up for debate. But the Mets give him a tip of the cap for, hey, our manager from our World Championship team went into the Hall of Fame. That's sweet. Great. That'd be kind of like any manager who has a cup of coffee with the team for a few years. They make the World Championship. Is he their man? Yes. You manage my team to the World Championship. You could eat at any cafe or drink at any bar for free in that town the rest of your life. Any sport. You bring them to the championship, you don't pay a bill. I just think Gil Hodges, because of his career, should have gotten sooner. But again, that's why they don't let me vote anymore.
So, Andy, we've gotten into this before in the Music Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there's a whole bunch of gray area. And now we get to Major League Baseball Hall of Fame once again, gray area. And a lot of this is good kind of water cooler talk at the office, but it's never going to be resolved. It's never going to be perfect, and it is what it is. But you're right. There's some frustrations on some of this as far as how the media reacts to it.
Oh yeah, and they all want to, because it's all, again, they want to have these media types want to have their name in the headlines for a while. So I'll be the one guy who doesn't vote for Mariano Rivera, who doesn't vote for Derek Jeter, so he can't be 100%. Fine. To a point, though, if he would have said, hey, kind of like the Edwin Diaz thing going, I knew player X was going in, but I want this guy to make sure he had enough votes so he could stand the ballot, because I think that Craig goes in. Whoever player X should still have a chance in, So I want to make sure he gets votes so he stays on the ballot. If you're doing it for that reason, great. Do we need to see a guy get 100% in? There's enough media guys out there. Someone's going to always be snubbing somebody just so that doesn't happen, and that's wrong.
If
there's a guy who has a sweet career, I don't know why Ken Griffey Jr. was not 100% in. How could you not say he should be in the Hall of Fame?
There could be an
How can you not say Jeter should be in the Hall of Fame?
Podcast on that topic. That's a good topic.
I get it. You can go with the argument going, hey, I knew Junior was getting in the first time. I want to make sure player X, Y, and Z got some votes. So instead, I'll give you that. But there's just some guys that deserve the tip of the cap of the 100% vote.
Yeah.
So.
Now, speaking of baseball, Andy, the Federal League, next week we're going to do I'm going to do a special on the Federal League over 35 baseball, because they've got till the 31st to finish their regular season games, which is a week from today. They'll have their state tournament announced. There's no regions, there's no sections, there's no districts. You finish the regular season, and they put you in a bucket for the state tournament, and it starts. It's a 2-week state tournament baseball, and it's some good baseball. They'll be announcing those brackets here sometime a week from today. Maybe they'll do a selection show, but once they come out, we'll be covering those a week from today on our show, because the over 35 baseball has got to finish their regular season by the 31st. In August, it's all playoffs in August for over 35. And there's 35 teams now playing in that league. Fun time to watch those, and they'll be going in there. We'll be talking about that next week, as long as with the regional for the town ball, the first round playoffs, because now you get into the next round, and then they'll be qualifying for state, and they're going to do a real-time live broadcast for the state brackets to announce them, much like a selection show on the NCAA. More sports are going with that, and that'll be in a couple weeks. We'll be following that closely.
Watch our Twitter feed. We'll be reposting and retweeting a lot of stuff about that. Friend of the show, Kip Kovar, will be covering a lot of that stuff. And a lot of the teams will put their own things up too. If you follow your favorite team on Twitter, of course, they're going to have the links to it. We'll send you links to it to watch. And then a couple days afterwards, again, when the smoke settles and clears, you'll hear what we think about it.
I think so. That's all I've got for this week. Anything else, Andy, for this week's show?
No. Just baseball's hot and heavy. Trade deadline coming up. Keep your eye on our social media, on our Twitter.
Watch the trade deadline and the Miquel Sano adventures tomorrow.
All right, if you're a betting man, Dan, next week or week and a half from now, is Miquel Sano still getting a check from the Minnesota Twins or not?
Or will Bobby Bonilla get one from the Mets?
Can you trade? Okay, that's the thing. Can you trade? Because Ken Griffey Jr. is still getting a check from the Reds. He's the 9th highest paid athlete on that team right now. Can you trade Bonilla's contract to somebody if you got to trade for salaries?
I don't know how that works, but I think all things are on the table. You might be able to absorb the remaining.
Yeah. If you got to throw a player for salary, can they throw Bonilla in on that? Can the Mets throw Bonilla for Sano?
If anyone knows, leave it in the comment section. Also,
I'm curious how that works.
What are the Twins giving up if they cut him? Are they saving a bunch on salary? I don't know what he's actually making. But
I'm not a big contract guy.
He was a former, a number 2. I think he was the number 2 prospect in either all of baseball or for the Twins for sure at one point in time. Him and Buxton were the top, the cat's meow in Major League in the minors just like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Now he's facing cleaning out his locker. All right, have a good week, everyone.
See ya.